I'm a family medicine doctor from Korea. I completed my residency and fellowship in family medicine at Samsung Medical Center in Seoul. Previously, I served as a dedicated faculty professor in the Department of Family Medicine at Chosun University. Now, I'm an adjunct professor at Sungkyunkwan University School of Medicine, and together with some sincere friends, I co-run a clinic called Shinsen Plus Clinic. Yes, and since Samyok University needed someone to teach health messages, I'm also working as an adjunct assistant professor in the Graduate School of Addiction Science, where I teach health messages. Additionally, in Korea, we wanted to properly research, practice, and share health messages, so we established the Biblical Health Society. I am currently serving as the executive director there. And so that's my little practical background. I have a dream. I decided to become a doctor because I wanted to be someone who shares the word of God with others. And among all that, I decided to become a family medicine doctor because I wanted to be a doctor who could effectively share the health messages found in the Bible and the spirit of prophecy, which my mother loved so much. I'm not a pastor, a professional minister, or someone who gives a lot of lectures, so whenever I have to give a talk like this or stand in front of church members, I get incredibly nervous. This really doesn't suit me at all. Yes, it really doesn't suit me. When I was attending the Pusan National University School of Medicine, I wanted to dedicate myself and serve God in some way. So for the 4 years I was there, I served as a teacher for the student group. In my heart, I have a bit of inexplicable compassion and love for young people and children. But in 2016, I was grateful to be named the top resident at Samsung Medical Center, and thanks to a full scholarship from Samsung Medical Center, I was able to go on a training program at Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital and our denomination's Florida Hospital in the United States. But while I had to stay in Boston for a bit, my wife insisted that I go to church no matter what, no matter how busy I was. So I went a long way, searched for it, and attended a service at the Boston Korean Church. The senior pastor of the Boston Korean Church asked me why I had come all the way here from faraway Korea, and I told him about my dream. I said, although I have many shortcomings, I came here because I want to work hard and become a doctor who shares how wonderful God is and how amazing the health message is. But after listening to me intently, he contacted me the following year, I think. He said to me, after I had returned to Korea, Mr. Sang-hyun Cho, how have you been? Yes, I've been well. Then he asked if I could come to the youth camp they were having. Since I had taught young adults, middle schoolers, and elementary students, I have a dream for these young people. Wow, but I was really moved. America really does things on a big scale. They invite speakers from Korea to the middle school camp if they like them. I was so incredibly and deeply impressed that I made the firm decision to answer that call. But since I needed to know how many students there were, and safety is important too, I asked how many elementary and middle school students there were, but they said they weren't sure. They said there are so many church members that they don't know how many elementary and middle school students there are. But Pastor, what are you going to do then? It's a middle school retreat. So if you don't know how many people there are, how are you going to supervise them? Then they said, oh, teacher, what are you talking about? It's the Yeongdongbo. They kept saying Yeongdongbo. Because they were speaking in dialect, they kept saying Jeongdongbu. They kept saying Dongbu. Since I had never been to America, I didn't know what Yeongdongbu meant. While preparing for the middle school retreat, they suddenly mentioned Yeongdongbu. So I couldn't say no. I said, I can't go. Why should I? I refused so many times, saying I wasn't prepared and I wasn't the right fit. But it seemed to be God's will, so after much prayer, I ended up at the Yeongdongbu camp meeting healthy. And you could probably see how flustered I look. I'm really not someone who should be standing here. In 2017, I ended up going to the Yeongdongbu camp meeting as a speaker to share the health message. I can't even tell you how much I pray to you. Because I'm lacking, I shouldn't just share what I know. The moment a speaker shares only what they have, that's when things fall apart. God, please empty me completely and fill me with only what comes from you. I can't even tell you how much I pray to you. Every day, I prayed and read the word, surrendering my knowledge to God and asking for His wisdom to better serve our church members. I kept reading with that prayer. I have a calling. That earlier title is worldly, but I call myself an Adventist young doctor, my true dream. I'm also a doctor who has the hope of the second coming. That's because I want to be a doctor who shares the love of Jesus and the hope of His second coming. So I dedicated myself and worked incredibly hard to live up to the name of Adventist Young Doctor, and thankfully, it truly appeared as though the church members were listening very attentively to what I had to say. Just when I felt like I had fulfilled my role as an Adventist Young Doctor, I received some news. Oh, doctor, do you know what they call you in America? Huh? Adventist Young Doctor? They said no. They call you the crying doctor. Because I cry so much every time I give a lecture. I mean, how could so many? They said they've never seen anyone cry as much as I do. So after that, whenever I was invited to give a lecture or share my testimony, instead of giving me water, people would hand me tissues. They would give me a huge stack of tissues. But then, unexpectedly last year, I got another phone call. Pastor Jan Kisu from the Western Women's Conference sent me a long message on Cacao Talk. Mr. Sang-Hyun Cho, we would love for you to come to the Western Women's Conference as a speaker to share a message of health. Once I got the text, I sent back 100 reasons why I couldn't go. Reason 1, this. Reason 2, that. Reason 3, something else. There's just no way I can go. Honestly, I'm really not the right person to be standing here. It was really hard for me. But the pastor replied right away without any hesitation. He refuted everything I said. First, it's just an excuse for such and such. Of the two reasons you gave, the first one seems like an excuse. It felt like he was scolding me. Revelation chapter 2, verses 4 to 5 says, I hold this against you. You've left your first love. Yes, and then he scolded me. He said, unless you repent, I will come and remove your lampstand. But at the end, he comforted me again. Everyone longs for that first love and wants to restore it. In the central and eastern regions of Yoyong, I did my best to share God, but it felt like he was asking, why don't you come to this western region of Young? But honestly, and I feel truly sorry to each and every one of you, but I don't know you all. When I close my eyes, my first love doesn't come to mind. Instead, I see people I don't recognize at all. All I can think of are grumpy grandmothers, elders who scold, and scary people. So then, did I really have love at the Central and Eastern camp? Did I ever have a first love? I'm sorry. I never had love from the beginning. I was someone without love. So I struggled with this. God, I don't have a first love. I don't have any love in my heart for the people who came to this camp. I shouldn't go. While I was meditating, praying, and reading the word like that, I said one more thing. God, how can I love someone whose face I don't even know? Then, during that time, God said to me, you know how the pastor said he longs for and wants to restore his first love? I really wanted to change the title of Crybaby Doctor, so I wrote about it, but I don't know if that's possible. I'd like to talk briefly about my first love. Everyone, what do you think this looks like? I thought it might be hard for y'all to figure out what this is, but it looks like you see a star. Who do you think made this star? Do you believe that? Do you really believe it? There have been many times when my faith was tested. I definitely believe that God created it, but there were many times when I thought arrogantly in various ways and believed that I contributed a lot myself. I'm sorry. Yes, all of you. Yeah, that's right. I am truly grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Now, looking at me like this, I may seem very happy and well off, but I actually went through an abusive childhood. My father was a very smart and capable man, but he abused my mother because she believed in God. And he targeted and persecuted me as well. The more my mother tried to lead us children to believe in God, the harsher my father persecuted her and subjected her to physical violence and abuse. Consequently, I developed a deep seated fear of getting married in my heart. Is marriage really something that brings happiness? Secondly, because I was beaten so much as a child, I was afraid that if I had a child, I might do the same thing. I didn't have confidence about having children. That was a deep wound in my heart that I couldn't tell anyone about. But then I met such a wonderful young woman and I ended up liking her first. Cowardly, I was the one who liked her first, who tried to win her over first, who approached her first, but then I couldn't bring myself to talk about marriage. Yeah, so whenever the topic of marriage came up, I would end up running away from it. So my wife now was really confused by that. Why do you always back off at that exact moment? I don't really want to get married either, but you're a bachelor. It was hard for her to understand the pain I couldn't talk about. But by God's grace, I was able to marry that lovely young woman. She's my wife now, and I cherish her so much. Yeah, after we got married, you have no idea how much I made my wife suffer. I was a husband who was always busy pointing out my wife's flaws, making excuses that I liked being logical. Honestly, I still do that now. Every single day I commit sins. It was even worse in the early days of our marriage. I started questioning the reasons behind everything my wife said. Nah, that's not right. Yesterday you said this, so why are you saying that today? I was like that too. I had my own complaints, but because there was no love in me, my wife was hurting. But then one day, my wife said, "Honey, these days I'm having such a hard time." But do you know what I said in? I'm having a hard time too. I'm struggling too, even more than you. Should we compare who's having a harder time? Write it down. Write it down. How many hours is your commute? How long is the trip back and forth? How many hours do I sky? How many hours do you work? How many hours do you work? That's the kind of person I was. I really don't deserve to be standing here. But after we got married, 2 years passed and we still didn't have a child. People started to get curious. Is there some kind of problem? Why don't they have a child? Even when we couldn't have a child, I had my own fears about it. What if I have a child and can't love him? What if I hit this child the way my dad used to hit me? I was scared. But as time went by, without even realizing it, not because I desperately wanted it, I started to feel that maybe it would be nice to have a child. Around that time, my wife came to talk to me. Honey, there's some I want to tell you. What is it? Is it some kind of good news or is it bad news? She said, Honey, don't be surprised. I said, Yeah, I have no reason to be surprised. She said, Honey, I think I'm pregnant. Yes. But when my wife told me she was pregnant, she said, Honey, I went to the hospital. My wife was actually an OBGYN. She said, I thought I might be pregnant, so I did an ultrasound myself at the hospital. But she said, Honey, don't be surprised. She said, I think the baby doesn't look so good. Yes, that was such a shock to me. What does that mean? It was my first time experiencing a pregnancy. I had never seen it from a professional perspective either. But my wife looked at me and said, Honey, I'm pregnant, but the baby might be miscarried. It was happy news, but I need to change the title, but I can't think of anything. It was happy news, but she said, You need to prepare together with me. Then at 6 weeks, we can see the baby's heartbeat on the ultrasound. So we just waited for it to reach 6 weeks. I never wanted a child, but I waited for it to reach 6 weeks, brought the ultrasound home, and looked at it there. We didn't even have time to go to the hospital. So my wife and I just put the ultrasound on her belly and looked at it together. When we did that together, inside the white ultrasound image, you could see a black, completely dark background. And there you could really see a perfectly round white spot like a pea. That was the baby's gestational sac. But just because there's a gestational sac doesn't mean the baby is alive. When it reaches 6 weeks inside the gestational sac, please, at least allow us to shed tears if we have to cry. The baby's heart needs to be beating. But when we looked at the ultrasound, the heart inside the gestational sac wasn't beating. So I couldn't give up just by looking at the ultrasound, so I kept searching for a long time. Even after we spent a very long time searching desperately for any sign of life, the baby's heart still wasn't beating at all. So, in the end, my very first pregnancy resulted in a heartbreaking miscarriage. But after the miscarriage, yes. Yes. As time went by, the tissue started coming out in larger pieces. From small pieces to large ones, that's still okay. Yes. I really went through a devastating experience. I thought that once you get pregnant, everything inside is a life. I thought that once the egg and sperm meet and make a home in the uterus, it would always become a baby. I thought it would grow up to be an adult. But there was no life in there. There was absolutely no sense of life in my life or in my daily personal efforts. When I realized that, I just broke down. There's no life in my life. And then, after quite some time, by God's grace and love that covers even a sinner like me, a baby came to our family again. Oh, yes, applause. Yes. One day, my wife tells me again, honey, don't be shocked. Honestly, I used to be so afraid of getting pregnant, but now all I wanted was for the baby to just stay alive. Honey, I think I'm pregnant again. So I took my wife and prayed with her. A man who was afraid of getting married and, because of his emotional wounds, was afraid of having children, held on to his wife and prayed to God. God, I have no love in me. Yes, I have no love. I don't even have life within me. Only you and only you can truly give this life. Please, let this child live. The person who used to be afraid of having a child began to earnestly pray for the child. And then 6 weeks passed. We had to check with the ultrasound again. We didn't have time to go to the hospital. I was so anxious that I brought the ultrasound machine home. I couldn't even wait for the 6 week mark for the baby. For the past 3 days, even 2 days ago, I kept checking over and over. Finally, it was exactly 6 weeks. When I put the ultrasound on, the whole screen was black again. I have to find that tiny home, the baby's home. As I kept looking, I finally saw the baby's home, just the size of a pea. It had a white outline around it. You have no idea how lovely it looked. It was a little pea-shaped circle, and we prayed together that we would see a heartbeat there. God, please grant this child life. Please let this child's heart be beating. You can do it. I will believe that you created our child. God, if this child is alive, I won't claim this child as my own. You are this child's true parent. I prayed, please let this child's heart beat. And then, as they put the ultrasound on and searched for the heart, the inside of the ultrasound was really pitch black. In that pitch black sky, like a dark night sky, there was really a single dot sparkling. If you don't know what to look for, you can't even see it. But I could see the heart appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. So, as we watched that heartbeat together, you have no idea how much my wife cried. When we lost our first child, we were both so heartbroken that we couldn't even talk to each other. But when we saw our second child's heart beating, that's when we were finally able to cry together. Listen, everyone, all of life comes from God. Not only the stars in the night sky, but even the heart inside our bodies was created by God. No life can exist in this world unless He allows it. At that moment, I found myself thinking once more of the dear members of Meet You Church who are with us today. Ah, God, I realize now that I have truly loved someone whose face I have never seen. I still don't even know what the face of my first child looks like. Yes, even though I don't really know my first child's face, I truly love him. God, please let me prepare with a heart that loves these church members whose faces I barely know. And God, not with my own knowledge or what I have, but please grant me your providence that makes this heart beat. And if there are still souls in America whose hearts aren't beating or who are wounded and weary, Lord, please make their hearts beat again. And God has truly, through His grace. He even allowed me to have a second child. Everyone, I was afraid that I might not be able to love my children. But you know what? Here's the amazing thing. My children forgive me and love me every single moment of every day. When my first child couldn't hold up their head yet, my wife would bathe them. As the husband, I was afraid to hold the baby. Because their neck wasn't strong yet, I was scared their head might fall if I wasn't careful. But my wife was so skilled, she'd just say, "Honey, take the baby," and hand them over, which really flustered me. I was worried the baby might fall if she handed him over like that, so I quickly grabbed a big blanket and wrapped my first child up tightly, because I was worried they might be cold. And just in case their head might fall, I held their neck tightly with my arm. I was really cherishing the baby, looking at him so lovingly, and at that moment, a thought came to me. It was a thought from God. Oh, God, how could I not love this child? In the Desire of Ages and the Prophets, the purpose of creation is revealed. God is love. His very nature and His law are love. It was true in the past, and it'll be true forever in the future. Every manifestation of creative power is an expression of infinite love. God's rule includes perfect blessings for all His creatures. God created humanity in His own image so that they could understand His love and share in unending fellowship of love with Him. The God of love created humans as beings who could fully receive His love and enjoy true happiness. Everyone, life comes from God. When God grants life, He also grants love along with it. Because He is the embodiment of perfect love, He continually creates life out of love. That's why in 1 Peter we find these words. I'm sorry. God created us with love, and He also has something He desires from us. There are many things that God desires, and these are well expressed in the words of 1 Peter. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. After God created us in love, He entrusted us with a mission. That mission is to serve one another, cover each other's faults, love one another, and serve each other. This service is not just about picking up things that are fallen or cleaning up trash. As a husband, you must serve your wife, and as a husband, you must serve your children. All of this must be done with love. Except for the selfish human heart, nothing lives for itself. While all creation acknowledged the loyalty of love, there was perfect harmony throughout God's universe. This is the very purpose for which God created us. When we lived according to this purpose of creation, the entire universe was in harmony and there was no discord. So in Ecclesiastes, the words of wisdom say this: remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Fear God and keep His commandments. This is the duty of all mankind. This is the purpose for which we were created and the direction we should be headed. But do you know what Korean society is like right now? Yes. These days, what do you think is the #1 condition for happiness among teenagers? That's right. Yes. For today's teenagers, the essential element of happiness is wealth. What about their parents? What are people in Korea chasing after these days? In 2026, a survey was conducted on the personal goals of all citizens, and the top answer was to be healthy. The second most common goal was to make a lot of money. People's dreams are to earn a lot of money and to be healthy themselves. So, shouldn't we be happy then? Yes. Shouldn't people who are healthy and make a lot of money be even happier? Even if you don't make more, shouldn't you be just as happy if you achieve just one of those things? But what is Korean society like right now? In 2024, the leading cause of death by age group, from teenagers to people in their 40s, is suicide. A staggering 48% of teen deaths are caused by suicide. Right now, Korea is dying from emptiness. We are dying from a sense of emptiness. The reason for this is explain the steps to Christ. It is to thwart God's plan for humanity's creation, and God's plan is love. It's the love that God wants us to have for one another. It says that making us lose sight of the purpose for which God created us and filling this world with suffering and desolation is the goal of the deceiver. Yes, the tempter, that is Satan. This suffering refers to our bodies becoming sick, and desolation means that our hearts lack happiness and fulfillment. That is exactly what Satan wants. By making us drift away from God, we lose our purpose in life and end up wandering and feeling depressed. I'd like to introduce a wonderful girl I met back when I was studying for my degree in home economics. When I was majoring in home economics, there was a time I was assigned to the pediatrics department. In the home economics department, you rotate through different departments. When I went to pediatrics, there was a middle school student hospitalized for anorexia. But this girl was so thin that although anorexia patients are usually sent to psychiatry, the psychiatric department said they couldn't admit her because she was so emaciated they were afraid she might die. So the pediatric department said that until this girl regained enough physical strength and nutrition, only then would the psychiatry department accept her for treatment of both her body and mind. That's why she was first admitted to pediatrics under that condition. But what I'm saying here is not that the psychiatric treatment methods are right, nor am I saying that one treatment method is better or worse than another. Please understand that everything I say over these 5 days comes from my own incomplete knowledge, beliefs, and words. And know that I'm not trying to talk about worldly knowledge. Yes, God also sheds light and gives guidance to worldly knowledge and science, so I am not here to say what is right or wrong. This child ended up coming to the pediatrics department and was assigned to me as the primary doctor. This was a very difficult case, and even though there were many pediatric residents, the reason this patient was assigned to a family medicine doctor on rotation was because anorexia is generally considered medically difficult to treat. But this child was truly special. This child was a middle schooler who attended an international school, and there they were ranked first in the entire school. They were very fluent in English, so they would hang out every day with the foreign patients admitted to Samsung Seoul Hospital. So during breaks, this child would go around to other wards and just hang out with the foreign patients there like they were friends. You wouldn't believe how bright and kind they were. But this child also had truly wonderful parents. The child's mother was a well-known medical school professor in Korea. As for the child's father, he was a lawyer at the most famous law firm in Korea. But the child's parents, they couldn't love each other. Yes, this was something only we knew. Even the child didn't know. Not once did the two of them ever visit the child together. Yes, either the mother would come alone or the father would come alone. As the primary doctor, I spent a lot of time talking with this child. What could I do for this child? She couldn't even be admitted to psychiatry because her weight was too low. In pediatrics, anorexia is considered a difficult disease to treat, so there isn't much we can do. So, since there wasn't much that could be done, this child was entrusted to me. What could I do for her? Yes. I started praying for this child. And I began to think about what God wanted for this child. I listened to her a lot and supported her, trying to give her the love from her parents that she might have been missing. This child would never eat anything if it was even a little greasy. So whenever she saw food, she would press it with her chopsticks, and if even a single drop of oil came out, she wouldn't eat it. I kept telling her over and over again that it was okay to eat it countless times. It's okay. Just try eating it once. Should I try eating it? Go ahead, try it. I kept saying it. I supported her, listened to her thoughts, and played with her. And then the child's mother came to see me to have a meeting about her child. But I was just a resident, and her mother was a famous professor. What could a resident possibly say to a professor? I told the mother that her daughter needed her attention. But no matter how busy she was, it seemed like the child missed her mom. Yes. Even when the father came to see me, I said, no matter how busy you are as a lawyer, your child needs her dad. But interestingly, the child started to gain weight little by little. She gained weight gradually. Everyone. It wasn't kilograms like you'd think, but just a few grams at a time. Even though small gains were noted. Because if she gained weight, we had to prevent any loss. But this child had a deadline. If her weight dropped to a certain number of kilograms, she would have to be sent to psychiatry no matter what, because she was hospitalized under that condition. But we thought that no one would ever actually meet that condition. But one day, she started to surpass that weight by a lot. We always said the same things, supported her, listened to her, made promises, and told her, just do as much as you can. It's okay. It's okay to fail. I wanted to teach her, little by little, the love I had received from God. But then I made a big mistake. We always made promises together, followed through, and were really, really happy. But one day, she said she wanted to eat greasy food. She was so grateful and started eating the greasy food little by little. And one day, we promised that she would finish everything without leaving any leftovers. But when I opened the side dish container, it was all gone. I praised her and encouraged her for doing so well, but when I turned around, I saw that the container was thrown away in the trash can. But what do you think I did when I saw that? Did I say, oh, it's okay, that can happen? No, I didn't. Because of my shortcomings, I started scolding her. How could you do that to your teacher? Even if you do that to others, shouldn't you at least not lie to me? Hey, how could you throw this away? I trusted you, but you promised you'd eat it all. But at that time, my professor was really pushing to send her to the psychiatrist as soon as possible. But even after meeting with her parents, she kept saying she wanted to stay in this home. She begged, "Teacher, please let me stay just a little longer." I was so harsh with her that I told her, "I can't wait for you any longer." I said, "I can't wait for you anymore, and because you lied, I can't wait for you. So according to the rules, you have to go to the psychiatrist now." I told the professor about her in a really cold way, and after that, she was transferred to neuropsychiatry. She was sent to the inpatient ward because her weight had increased, so she could now be treated for her anorexia. And I forgot about this girl. A long time passed, and then I got a call from pediatrics. In pediatrics, they hold a grand round every few months, and what that means is it's not just the case report within pediatrics, but a big grand round where all the departments come together and collaborate. So several departments join in. It's a gathering where when pediatrics achieves something significant through collaboration with other departments, everyone involved comes together to present a case report. Not only the pediatricians, but also professors and residents from all the related departments attend. Actually, even more people come than the congregation members here today. The people who present there are either outstanding or truly central doctors. But then I got a call asking me to give that presentation. But I'm not even a pediatrician. I'm a family medicine doctor. I was just dispatched there and then returned to my department. So why am I the one who has to present? And then they said, "This case is about the student you were in charge of." Why? Did something go wrong? No. They were talking with the psychiatry department, and the psychiatry professor said this. They asked the pediatrician, "What on earth did you do for the patient to gain so much weight?" At Samsung Seoul Hospital, we've treated and managed countless anorexia patients, but we consider anorexia to be a difficult and incurable disease. But they were curious about how it was possible for someone to gain so much weight in such a short period of time and end up in the department, so they wanted to ask. But in the pediatrics department, there was almost no one who could answer that question, because they don't know why. So the fellow doctor there said that the primary doctor should prepare an explanation, and that's why they called me. So I ended up giving a presentation about this specific young child, about how this child successfully gained weight in front of all of the various pediatricians and psychiatrists gathered together. I thought it was a failure. Yes, I gave up because of my own shortcomings. But God's way is something that can't be found anywhere else in the world, and it couldn't have come any other way. But right after those events took place, I found myself falling into a deep and very difficult emotional slump for quite a long time. Feelings of guilt about this child started to overwhelm me. How could I have given up on this child? How could I be so cold and tell them, "You lied to your teacher, so you should go to a psychiatrist"? I was tormented, thinking, how could I be so heartless? Why am I suffering like this? Is it because I have love in my heart? No, that's not it. It's because the one who waited for me is someone who has never given up on me. It's because the one who guided me to do so has never once scolded me. I learned love directly from God, but the love I showed was so lacking that I still feel sorry, and just thinking about that child still makes my heart ache and torments me. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't tremble before him. For the Lord your God always goes with you. He will never leave you, nor will he ever forsake you. Everyone, the God who loves us is also the one who will never leave us. Yes, it's thanks to that God that I'm able to stand here today. I am truly, sorry. Let me drink some water before I continue. Yes. I am really inadequate and someone who can't deliver anything. But thanks to the one who has waited for me endlessly, I'm changing little by little. Even yesterday and a few days ago, I was told that I was a really terrible and awful husband. But still, compared to the beginning, there are times when I get praised for having improved a lot. I personally invited the pastor to speak in detail regarding the health message found in the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. But today, what I would truly like to share with you is the health message from my own life. But actually, that story is about Jesus in my life. It's also a story about Jesus who changed me, my family. I am really sorry. You see, whenever I get really nervous, I tend to drink a huge amount of water to calm down. After my mom sat down and watched the whole video, she got worried and asked me if I might actually have diabetes. And then she told me I should go get checked out by a doctor right away. She said, "You're gonna get sick first." I really get nervous, so I keep drinking water. Yes. Oh, it's okay. There's another bottle. Yes. Thank you, thank you. Yes. A lot of water. My father always persecuted my mother, and the lights are so bright that I'm a bit. My father was a very capable and smart doctor. To the world, my father seemed very wise, intelligent, and sometimes even chivalrous. But the one thing he could never tolerate was God. For some reason, my father just couldn't accept anything related to God. You have no idea how much he persecuted my mother. With words I can't even repeat, and with violence, he tormented, persecuted, and harassed my mother from the very beginning of their marriage, for as long as I can remember. But through all of that, my mother always shared God with my father. My father would always say things in a childish way. "Do you like me, or do you like die?" I mean, who asks that? But he'd ask daily, "Is it me or is it God? How could you like God more than me?" And my mother's answer was always the same. "Everyone, honey, you can't really compare yourself to God." Yes, thank you. God created you. God created me too. God existed even before we did it. And honey, if I say I love God, but betray him when you hit me, persecute me, or yell at me, wouldn't I also betray you someday when things get tough? Honey, my unwavering trust, love, and service to God is how I serve you, stay loyal to you, and love you. Why don't you understand that? My mother would say, "What does that even mean?" She would keep tormenting me, telling me to choose. Ever since I was little, my mom and dad fought almost every day, and that really left a deep scar on me as a child. When I was young, all the beds in our house were hospital beds. My dad was a doctor, so we use hospital beds as our beds at home. Hospital beds are empty inside. Whenever I heard them fighting while I was sleeping, I got scared and hid inside the bed. Then I would pray. Because my mom told me to pray. "God, you can hear me, right? If you're there, please stop their fighting." But God never answered that prayer, so I started to distrust and even hate God. One day, I started to resent my mom. "Mom, if you didn't believe in that God, you guys wouldn't fight like this. Can't we just stop going to church?" Then my mom would just burst into tears. "Sang-yi, I can bear and endure the fact that your dad doesn't know God. But if I thought you didn't know God, I don't think I could handle that." She said it would break her heart too much. So my mom would always talk to me about God. "Sang-yi, you were also given to me by God. You too were created by God." Then I asked, "Mom, why do we always fight like this? If God created us in his love, then why do mom and dad always fight like this?" "No, that's not it. Sang-yi, you shouldn't resent your dad. You shouldn't hate your dad. That's not something God does. That's what Satan does. Satan is moving your dad to try to break up our family. But we must never hate dad, no matter what. That's all we have to do." My mother, for her entire life, has never once spoken ill of, resented, or cursed my father. And no matter what kind of persecution my father inflicted, she never once denied God in front of us. But when my mom and dad fought, they really fought fiercely. Whenever they fought, there was always a ritual they went through, and that was threatening to get a divorce. they'd say, I'm going to divorce your mom now, so you have to choose between your mom and dad. It was childish, but it happened daily. Plus, it was public, like this. But if my mom went to church, read the Bible, read the Spirit of Prophecy, or cooked brown rice, then all hell would break loose from that day. And they'd fight all night, lecture us, and threaten divorce, and nobody would get any sleep. We'd have to kneel all night and listen to their lectures. So my father, then at dawn, he'd say, we're divorcing, so pick one. He'd tell us, hands up. He'd say, raise your hand if you're going with dad, and we had to raise our hands. Raise your hand if you're going with mom. But if you raised your hand to go with mom, you'd really get beaten to death. Yeah. But my youngest sister, ever since she was little, never once hesitated. She always chose to go with mom. No matter how much my father hit her, persecuted her, refused to give her allowance, or told her she was a forsaken child, my sister would cry and say, Dad, I believe in God and I want to go with mom. She went with mom. When it was our turn to choose, my mom's eyes would start to waver. Sangi, please, don't be afraid. Choose mom. Please, Sangi. So I looked at my mom and I really wanted to go to her, but I ended up raising my hand to my dad. I'll stay with that. I always raised my hand for dad without missing a single time. I was just so scared. I basically grew up to be my dad's right-hand man. I became the son who resembled my dad the most. That was such a deep pain for my mom. But as we kids grew older, my father started to persecute even the child who chose to follow our mom. Let's see how well you do. Oh, you really think God exists? You think God will protect you? I have wealth, honor, and power, so I'll make sure the child who follows me succeeds no matter what. He cursed, saying that the youngest who follows you will end up ruined. My mother would cry every day and pray in her room, God, when my child chooses you instead of fearing my husband. But my father would beat us so harshly, it was terrifying. Whenever my father persecuted my mother, all the neighbors would gather at our house to try to stop him. There wasn't a single person in our neighborhood who didn't know about our family. But in this house that everyone in the neighborhood knew, that child, the child who always had to be kicked out of the house and run away with his mom, that child who followed his mom, please protect that child so nothing bad happens to him. She prayed that you would come to know that choosing God isn't a bad thing, that it's the right thing. But strangely, it seemed like my father's authority would never be broken. But my oldest and second oldest sisters were really good at studying, but things just weren't working out. My father had such strong pride in being a doctor. He would say, I'm a doctor, I'm really smart, and from what I see, the Bible is nonsense. He would often say arrogant things like, from what I see, you're wrong. So he wanted me, who followed him, to also become a doctor like him. But I wasn't good at studying. There was no way I could do well in school. How could anyone study in a family like this? I had no joy in life. I had no pleasures in the world either. I had no goals. I was addicted to video games and comics. In high school, me and 5 close friends would sit in the back row. Since I had money, I'd borrow comic books and we'd pass them around, ignoring class and reading comics. There were 45 students in my class, and I was always ranked 40th. My close friends were 41st, 42nd, 43rd, 44th, and 45th. We were like the 5 Acorn brothers. There was no way we could do well in school. I mean, why should we even study? There was nothing to look forward to, and every time I went home, it was just constant fighting. There was only one subject I liked in high school, and that was ethics. Why were we born? Why do my parents have to fight like that? Does God exist? I found those questions so interesting. The study of existence, which most people find boring, was just so fascinating to me. Why was I born? Then one day, my father came to see me. You know, I was really bad at studying. He asked, do you want to go to medical school? That's what he said. At that time, I was at the tail end of my rebellious phase, so I was colder than you could ever imagine. At my house, it was really hard for anyone to even talk to me. Even my older sisters couldn't talk to me. I was totally rebellious and twisted, rejecting all the love and attention in the world. So for my father to even say something like that took a lot of courage. I barely even ate what my parents gave me. Why would I go to medical school? Dad, I don't even want to study. I snapped at him really hard. But my father tried to persuade me with everything he could. But my father wanted someone in his circle, someone who followed him to succeed. Dad, I don't like it. My father was trying to win me over. He kept saying, I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. Then one day he told me, Sang-hee, if you get into college, I'll give you anything you want. Anything. I'll do everything for you. Whatever it is, anything at all. To show me just how much he meant anything, my dad even said, if you go to college and want to go to church, you can go to church. Yeah, that really means anything. If my dad saw a Bible at home, he would tear it up, and he even came with a hammer and smashed everything. But that same person told me if I wanted, I could even go to church. Wow. Then Dad, I've never really studied before. Then my dad said he would teach me himself. My dad told me that, and since he had been a live-in head teacher since he was young, he was really good at teaching. From then on, my dad kept me locked up in his hospital and taught me there. Yeah, I had no idea it would be such a hellish place. Since I was so bad at studying, my dad evaluated me and said, there's no hope for you. But then he was like, how could you be this bad? He was literally shaking with shock because I didn't know anything at all. So he came to my school. He told my homeroom teacher, our child is someone that public education just can't handle. He said that self-study and all that stuff was pointless, so he wanted me taken out of it. He insisted, even if this kid tries, he won't understand, and it's all meaningless, so just let him go. But what really hurt was that my homeroom teacher agreed and let me go. That's right. Sir, it seems this child is like that. Please take him with you. My father had an IV room at his clinic. It was a tiny IV room, and it didn't even have a window. He locked me in there and made me study every day. He said, since you're not good at studying and you don't even deserve to try the hard stuff, just buy one workbook for each subject. With so many workbooks, I didn't know which to pick. So I ended up buying the EBS workbooks. One book for each of the 12 subjects. Don't even buy 2 books. You're not smart enough for 2 books. He made me learn everything in that one book, in detail. Locked in there, I started reading. At first, it took a whole week to get through just one book. Dad, I finished the whole Tim. But I couldn't even leave until I finished reading all of it. He even brought me food. He said eating took too much time, so he would always just toast bread with butter and give it to me. Breakfast was buttered bread, lunch was buttered bread, and dinner was buttered bread too. He said without butter, you die, but with butter, you won't. So he always put butter on it. But honestly, it killed me. My mom was worried, so whenever she met me, my dad would make a big fuss again. Sang-hee, are you okay? Mom, I'm dying from all this buttered bread. My mom would add carrots, lettuce, and even Western liquor. That's when I realized, wow, carrots are actually delicious. Carrots taste amazing. I'd ask Mom for more, but when she'd say, Dad's coming, I'd bolt. And then I'd eat bread again and just keep gaining weight like crazy. I'd solve it and then solve it again and again and again. I think I solved it like 12 times for my dad. I begged, can I read something else? Then my dad would take the book, erase it all, and put it back. Do it again. I'd start over and solve it again and again. Each book I solved 100 times. Soon, when I'd close my eyes, the book popped into my head. Dad would ask me things. He'd ask, what's this problem about? I'd say, oh, that book? Which one? It's the problem on page such and such. Numbers 1 through 4 are these, and 3 is correct. Here is why 1, 2, and 3 are wrong. That's it. I memorized everything. The books wore out and fell apart. Father, the book is torn. Let me use another book. He tosses it, but then goes to the bookstore and buys the same one again. Since the book is torn, use a new copy of the same book. I read them repeatedly, so that by 3rd grade, I'd lost count of how many times I went through those 12 books. In my senior year, I took mock exams. With each one, my scores rose by dozens of points. So, unbelievably, by the time my senior year was almost over, my mock exam scores were good enough to get into medical school. I used to be at the very bottom, but suddenly I was moving up to the top ranks. Then, the day of the college entrance exam finally came. I was so nervous. I've never been nervous before when taking a test. Guys, if you don't study, you really don't get nervous at all. If you don't study, if you don't do anything at all, even the day before, you don't feel any tension and you just wait for the test to be over as soon as possible. You just want to finish quickly and get it over with. But when you actually study like this, you get so nervous before the test that you can't even sleep. Your hand shakes as you hold your pencil. What if I don't know a question? I can't go through this again. Retaking it is out of the question. Until the day before the exam, you're stuck inside studying without sunlight. Then suddenly, the door creaks open and you're told to go take it. It's like a martial arts master who's been living in the mountains suddenly heading to the test center with just a single pencil. So nervous you feel like dying, I took the entrance exam hardly knowing how I did it. I was so nervous, I just rushed through the whole thing. Then I had to grade it, but I was so anxious I couldn't bring myself to do it. They used to sell answer sheets at bookstores. I bought an answer sheet, but I couldn't grade my test. I was too nervous. And if anyone asked me about it, I would get angry. I told everyone not to say a word to me. My mom told everyone to ignore me, so I was hiding. Late that night, I was still too nervous to grade my test. Living in Bucheon then, I walked to the station and wandered until I calmed down. Once it was quiet, I finally started grading my test. One by one, I got them right. Right again, right again. When I finished grading, I realized I had barely gotten anything wrong. Back then, this was for my class of 90, my class of 98. Back in 97, during the college entrance exam mock tests, if you scored over 260 out of 400, you could get into almost any university in Seoul. If you scored over 260 and especially over 280, you were considered top tier. If you scored over 300, you could get into the top departments at Seoul National University, and if you scored over 330, you were among the very top scorers that year. The top scorer was determined starting from 325 points. Do you know what score I got? I got 335 points. Wow, it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime shot. That's how I lived. Buttered bread actually tastes pretty good. I opened the window and shouted, "Hey, life is all about that one shot." I just couldn't believe how good it felt. So even though it was dawn, I grabbed my test paper and kicked open the door to my parents' bedroom. "Mom, Dad, wake up." When I told them to wake up, my mom was like, "Why? What's going on? How was your test score?" She kept asking. "Don't ask, don't say anything." Since I was so excited, my dad asked, "Did Sang-hee do well on the course?" "Dad, I told you not to say anything." So they asked, "What's going on?" I was laughing and said, "Mom, Dad, don't say anything. Just imagine the university and major you want your son to get into. I'll make it happen for you." I really felt like I had the whole world in my hands. It's over. This life is over. They say, in college, you're free to do anything. It's over. I'm finally free from this hell. Do I even need to go to the next school? No, I don't. That afternoon, I went to school feeling like a winner. Our class president, the top student, was already there. He was playing baseball with someone else. They were just playing baseball. Still riding that sense of accomplishment, I asked, "Hey, class president, what score did you get?" And he said, 380 points. Oh, 300, 280 points, 280 points, 380 points. That's what they were saying. That's weird. That's not even a possible score. So I asked the kid playing catcher, "Hey, catcher, what score did you get?" And everyone was just saying things like 350 points. Something felt off. So I went back to the classroom and the news was on saying it was the easiest national defense exam ever. So everyone's scores went up by 60 or 100 points. Wow, it was total chaos. But this is just how things go, you know? I had to figure out where I was supposed to go. I was just sitting there, totally shocked and frozen, when my friends, ranked 46th, 47th, 48th, and 49th, kicked open the classroom door and shouted, "Hey, if anyone scored over 300 points, come out here." Hey, keep it down. Read the room. Sit down, quick. We sat and watched the news. Total chaos. After meeting my teacher, I told my dad, "Dad, I don't think I'll make it into medical school this time." And my grades were pretty much at the bottom of the class. So for us, there was the special admission and the regular admission. The special admission didn't take grades into account, but the regular admission did. I needed the special admission route. With my regular grades, no university would take me. I couldn't repeat another year. I couldn't eat this buttered bread for that long.
I went to my homeroom teacher and said, "Teacher, just send me anywhere. I'm guaranteed to get in." My teacher thought about it for a moment and said, "Applying to Kenghwa National's College of Pharmacy would guarantee my admission. It's not like I was that bad after all." Then the teacher asked, "But, are you okay with pharmacy school?" So I asked my father, and he said, "Well, there's nothing we can do. You did your best, so let's go somewhere you can get in." So he told me to go. Then I said to my dad, "I don't need anything else. But Dad, even if I go there, you'll keep your promise, right?" That's what I said. Then my father said, "Yes, I'll keep my promise." That's what he said. "I won't interfere in your life." He said, "I'll do anything you want. Just go to college." Wow, I didn't have any dreams. It didn't matter where I went. Wow, it felt so great. Kangwon National University is so far away. I wouldn't have to see my parents fighting anymore. I could leave this house. Oh, I can't even describe how happy I was. So the night before my interview, I thought, once I get through this interview, it'll all be over. And I fell asleep. When I woke up, I felt so refreshed, and the sunlight was so warm. But it felt kind of strange. It was like there was something important I was supposed to do, but I couldn't remember what it was. And my whole body just felt relaxed, like all my fatigue had melted away. Like a Sunday, confused, I went to the living room and turned on the TV. It was already 1 p.m. I thought I had something important today, and then I realized it was my interview day. I panicked because it was already 1 p.m. Is this a dream? Then I saw my mom doing the dishes. I asked, "Mom, isn't today my interview day?" And she just calmly said, "Yeah, that's right." I was like, "Wait, what is this?" And rushed over to Kangwon University. But by the time I got there, all the interviews were already over. So I ended up not getting in because I overslept. It doesn't make any sense, right? Years later, I found it so strange that I asked my mom about it. I said, "Mom," because my mom is usually really good at keeping track of those things. "But Mom, back when I applied to Kangwon National University's pharmacy program, why didn't you wake me up that day? I was so curious." My mom just smiled. Then she said, "Sang-a-K, you're not going to get mad, right?" "Why would I get mad? Tell me." Then my mom said, "I heard from your dad that you were going to get into Kangwon National University's pharmacy program." He told me. He said you were guaranteed to get in, 100%. But when I heard that, it really broke my heart. My mom started crying from the moment she heard people saying I would get into Kangwon National University's pharmacy program. Yes. Up until I turned 20, my mom still hadn't shared her faith in God with me. Yes. If my son, who doesn't know God, leaves my side and goes to Gangwon-do, who will share God with him? Will there be even one friend in Gangwon-do who will tell my child about God? Will there be even one professor at that university who will talk about God? Even when my child is here with me, he doesn't want to listen to his mom, and just mentioning the Bible makes him throw a fit. Could I even dream of a day when this son would come home and talk about the Bible with his mom? She said her heart hurt so much. She resented God. God, why not Samyuk University? At Samyuk University, there are professors who can share about God. At Samyuk University, she found friends to discuss God. Why Kangwon National University? Praying all night, she cried, "God, what do I do?" "But they say you'll get into Kangwon National University. What do I do?" She kept praying, and at dawn, the sun rose. At that moment, she felt so resentful toward God. The mother prayed, "God, you created this child. God, you gave us our son. Yes, so please, God, please meet our son." Did I ever, even once, wish for my child to just live well and be successful? Did I ever, even once, wish for my child to become a doctor? God, did I ever, even once, wish for my child to go to Seoul National University or some prestigious college? God, my only hope, from the moment you created this child until now, is for my child to know you. That's all I want. So please, please meet my child. God, please. You gave him to us. You created him. But then why not my child? She prayed all night long. But no matter how much she prayed, it felt like that prayer would never be answered. God, what should I do? I wish tomorrow wouldn't come. I wish the sun wouldn't rise. But how could the sun not rise? The sun did rise. So my mother's final prayer was, God, please just don't let my child wake up. God, could you please just let Sangai stay asleep as he is? Please, just let him remain asleep. I hope he doesn't wake up. She prayed, cried, and fell asleep, but when she opened her eyes, it was so quiet. So when she came into the room, she saw that I was really sleeping. Huh? God, what is going on? But God knows that even now, this child is so clever that if he wakes up, he'll somehow find a way to go to the interview. God, please let him sleep just a little longer. Please let him sleep just a little longer. 9 o'clock passed, then 10, 11, and even 12, but I still didn't wake up. So, out of gratitude, she started doing the dishes. She was in the middle of doing the dishes when I suddenly came running out. Mom, isn't today the day of my interview? But at that moment, my mom couldn't even turn her head to look at me. I remember thinking, how could she be so indifferent? But the truth was, she couldn't look at me because she was crying. She asked me, "Do you know why I cried back then?" Saying, God is really alive. Because he truly is the one who created you and me. He is the one who created this whole universe and oversees everything. He is the one who answered even that small prayer of mine, asking that you wouldn't wake up. So wouldn't he also answer my lifelong prayer, the prayer that you would meet him? I was so sure of that, I couldn't help but cry. That's what she said. After that, I had to go to school, and then I had to go to college. Since I missed special admissions, I checked the placement chart but had no energy. No college would take me. I had to apply through regular admissions with my school grades, but being in the lowest tier, no college would take me. However, while checking the placement chart, one college made no sense at all. It turned out they only considered 2 subjects from my school grades. So I called that school. That school was Samyuk University. Yeah. I mean, out of all the universities, there was only one where you could just pick any 2 subjects from your grades and submit those for evaluation, and that was Samyuk University. So I called their administration office and asked about it. I confirmed that at Samyuk University, you can pick any 2 subjects for grade evaluation. They said you don't even need Korean, English, or math. It doesn't matter which ones you choose, even music or PE. Just pick any 2 subjects and submit them. My heart started pounding. My heart was recent. For the first time, I went to school and dug through all my report cards. I never looked at them because I was at the bottom of the class. But now I was so nervous. I just needed 2 subjects. My English grades were average or fail, and my math was the same, 25%. I could hardly look, and I started praying, God, please. I kept begging, and then I saw there was an excellent for all 3 years. Yeah, one of them was PE, physical education. I was almost at the top of the class. First place, it was an excellent. First place is a near perfect 100 points. I had to pray to God, please just give me one more subject. I looked but found nothing. It was all averages and fails with hardly a pass in sight. Just as I felt hopeless, I finally spotted one subject with an excellent. Throughout junior year, I was almost at the top of the class in ethics. In that subject, I questioned God daily about my birth and hardships, yet I nearly topped the class. So I applied to Samyuk University using my top marks in ethics and physical education. To go there, I needed my father's permission. Samyuk University was a dream school, so I asked him, Dad, I have a chance to go to college. Where? Pharmacy school. You think you can get into pharmacy school with your grades? Dad, don't say things like that. It hurts my feelings. My grades are top tier, but only at one university. Where? Samyuk University. His expression changed. I used to be terrified of my dad, but seeing his face then just made me angry. Dad, are you frowning at me right now? I spent the whole year eating nothing but buttered bread and living like I was in prison just to protect your reputation. And now that your son is going to college, you're making that face? Unbelievable. Dad, are you upset that your son is going to college? It was just so absurd. But then my dad smiled and said, do you want to go? Yes. Dad, it's not about whether I want to go or not. That place is up in the sky. I looked at the placement chart and it's really up in the sky. It would be an honor if they picked me. I'd be grateful. What are you even talking about? My feelings changed. Then my father said, "All right, go." That's what he said. And then, for the first time in my life, really, I went to see my mother. I used to look down on her. Growing up, I became more like my father, and we both ignored my mother. But even so, I went to see her. I barely talked to her, but I said, "Mom, can we talk?" She was so happy. "Sang-yuk, what's up? Can Mom help you with anything?" You know, I failed the interview. Others don't even care, but for me, interviews scare me to death. Even with excellent grades, I was so scared of failing that I went to Mom. My mom's a Samyuk University nursing alum. I asked, "Mom, how do I ace the interview to get in?" My dad didn't care at all. You have no idea how happily my mom taught me. "Sang-yuk, Samyuk University is different from other universities in the world. Other universities might ask about your wisdom and knowledge, but Samyuk University will ask something special. They'll want to know if you've met God. If you love God, if you grew up in a family that knows God, since they'll ask things like that, how about you prepare for those kinds of questions? You have no idea how hard I prepared. I'm so nervous, Mom. I just couldn't hide how I really felt. Mom, what if I don't make it? I'm so nervous." "No, that's not going to happen. They will most certainly recognize you, Sang-yi. They'll definitely recognize you as my son there." So I thought there was a professor who would exclude my mom. Is there a professor who would recognize me? I found out much later. Who's the one who would recognize me? It was God, the one my mother prayed to ever since she conceived me. So yeah, and then I went to Samyuk University for an interview. Now, the professors I truly love and respect, the ones I really, really admire, were sitting there. And they asked me the very question my mother had mentioned. "Really?" What? I'm sorry. I wrote my resume in a really cowardly way. "It says here that you were born into a Christian family." "Yeah, that's correct, Professor. As the son of a deacon who was born into the faith, I have served God my whole life." Honestly, I couldn't have been more cowardly. Another professor then asked, "A student of faith here? You had good grades, right? Top of your class." When I came to our school, I didn't even know what Sabbath school was. There's something called Sabbath school, and actually there weren't many church members, so they were worried. "If you come, you'll probably be active in Sabbath school too." "Oh, what do you mean by that?" "Professor, I will become the leader there." The moment I heard I was accepted to the school, my heart started pounding like crazy. Accepted? I really felt like I could give my whole soul to this. And by God's grace, I was able to enter Samyuk University. Once I had arrived there, I encountered some friends who told me about God. The very friends my mother had prayed for all her life. I went to my very first freshman orientation, and the atmosphere there was completely different from what I was used to in the world. During the orientation, the professors were talking and getting ready to start when one of them came over and asked, "Hey, do you guys have a special performance prepared?" That's what he said. At that time, the friends who had graduated from Samyuk School really looked out for me. We used to hang out together. Those friends started glancing at each other like this, looking around. We were sitting together, but except for me, they kept making eye contact with each other. "Don't you guys have a special performance prepared?" Then, those four nodded to each other. And then they started heading out. I thought I was supposed to go out too. As I stood up, a friend put a hand on my shoulder to stop me. "You just stay seated. This isn't something you should be joining in on." They told me to just sit there like that. So I stayed seated. The four guys went out, covered their ears, and started randomly pressing the piano keys. Then they were all like, "Whoa," and making a big fuss among themselves. What are they doing? I watched them. What on earth are they doing? Then it got quiet, and they started singing a hymn. Heaven's music gently spreads over the sea. That beautiful melody. As they were singing that hymn, for the first time in my life, I heard the hymn that my mother used to sing while being persecuted, chased away, and beaten. And now, my friend, who is the same age as me, but has lived a different life, was singing that hymn, acknowledging and knowing that God, the one who created her, is God. Listening to her sing, I just cried endlessly. I felt a beauty that words can't describe, and I just sat there, unable to lift my head, crying. Through the lives of my friends, lives I couldn't deny, and through their voices, God knocked on the door of my heart. And then I started living in a dormitory, and there I had an even bolder friend. There was a chubby friend, and he was really big. He was the kind of friend who would knock on every door in the dorm, crying and making a fuss, lighthearted and fun. He came to my room to hang out every day. We would hang out, joke around, laugh, and have a good time together. But one day, on a Friday afternoon Sabbath, after the evening service was over, I didn't go to church. But after the service, he came back and said, "Sangy, wasn't today's sermon really good?" That's what he said. I said, "What was today's sermon?" He asked if I went to church. I said no. He then asked why I had to go, surprised that I didn't. He said, "Today's sermon was so good." He kept talking about it, saying it was about eternity and the kingdom of heaven. He said, "They said we can live forever in heaven." He asked, "Isn't that amazing?" That's what he said. I was just so dumbfounded. I said, "Wait, what's so great about that? Why do we have to live forever? Shouldn't we just die at the right time?" He looked really flustered. I don't think that friend knew I wasn't religious, because I lived in the dorms. Most of the people who lived in the dorms were religious. Sangi said, "Why are you saying things like that? I have a lot of pain when it comes to the idea of eternal life. When I was young, I honestly wished someone would just let me die painlessly. Yeah, I didn't find any joy in life. I resented God for giving me fear and pain. But when I wanted to die, if only I didn't have that fear of pain, I really wanted to die. I didn't want to live any longer. You have no idea how much I resented it. But now you're telling me to live forever? Hey, why do I have to live forever?" I started arguing with that friend and got really angry. I just lashed out at them with my cold words, thinking, why don't you try sharing your opinion for once? Just like that. "Who do you think you are? Who are you to lecture me?" I really scolded them. I thought they'd get mad at me too, because that's how the world works. I wanted them to get angry at me too. But while I was getting all worked up, this big guy just started bawling his eyes out. Right in front of me, he was really crying his heart out. Man, what a fool. "Hey, what are you doing crying like that when you're a grown man? Hey, what's going on?" I was so flustered that I just stood there, and then he started crying and said, "Sangi, God is really alive. God is really alive. That God made both me and you." But he was crying, saying, "Why did God give me such a deep longing for eternity, but not give that same heart to my beloved friend Sang-yi? So I get to live forever, but if you don't, that means someday we'll have to say goodbye." He just kept crying. "Hey, you idiot. Why would I want to live forever with you? Go live forever with your wife." Man, I don't even want to see your face. I just started giving him a hard time. Now, I'm really grateful to that friend. It's not that I didn't have a longing for eternity in my heart, but an evil spirit made me deny that feeling. It was already there, though. God never creates life without love, and He who is eternal and never gives up on us would never create us without eternity. But Satan makes us deny our longing for that love and eternity. I almost went to Kangwon National University, but I ended up coming to Samyuk University instead. Through friends like that, I started to change little by little. And even though I had a childhood I wanted to erase because it was so dark, I was able to see the light. For me, that light was my mother's prayers and the life she lived, sacrificing and dedicating herself for me all her life. For me, the light was also my friends who, though clumsy and imperfect, put aside their embarrassment every moment to tell me about God. I loved that light and wanted to reach it, but negative voices made me doubt myself. Saying, how can a sinner like you seek the light? How could someone as incapable as you ever become a light? Hey, who do you think you are to be a light? Those negative voices kept trying to make me give up. But in the book of John, God clearly said this. Believe in the light while you still have the light. Then you will become children of light. No matter what wounds we have, what flaws, what shortcomings, what mistakes we've made, what sins we've committed, or what hurts we've experienced, we can become children of light through Jesus. We may seem too lacking to do it ourselves, and that's exactly why God gave us Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. By experiencing the pain of death that we were supposed to endure, he allowed us to receive his life. Satan tried to separate us forever, but by taking on humanity, the Savior bound himself to mankind with a bond that can never be broken. The King of the universe and Creator God loved us so much that he tied himself to us, afraid that we might fall away from him. Even though I have existed through many ages and have tried to thwart this love and block it from flowing down to earth, this love still abundantly pours out on us for whom Christ died in our place. Everyone, what do you think is the most terrifying disease in this world? Is it cancer? Or is it high blood pressure or diabetes? As a doctor, this is what I want to say. The most terrifying disease in this world is forgetting God. It is when we, who are supposed to be children of light, lose our Creator. So, everyone, the core of the health message is this. The core of all the health messages in the Bible and the spirit of prophecy is to remember our Creator. And it is about sharing the Creator God with those souls who are still wandering, hurt, depressed, and even contemplating suicide because they do not yet know God. We may not be able to do it ourselves, but we believe that we can through Jesus Christ. Even though we may be afraid, I hope we can hold hands and move forward together, relying on the cross of Jesus Christ. By his stripes, we are healed. Thank you.